Derek McManus, I can't remember the last time or the first time I met him. I heard the name, and you would remember the name. By all rights, he shouldn't be here. He literally,
There's more than one person that's ever said that.
Well, being a policeman, I can sort of understand that. But just how many times were you shot?
Only 14.
14 times.
In less than 5 seconds. One incident. One incident.
Now, that must have a formative effect. Can you imagine this, John?
No.
You'd basically say to yourself, God has a mission for me. Yeah. I should be dead.
Yes.
But you're well and truly alive. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yes, I am well and truly alive. And I am not a religious person, so I understand what you're saying about God has a mission for me.
But it's fate, isn't it? You could have been...
And I don't believe in fate either. I definitely could have been and should have been dead. None of the doctors were able to tell me why I was able to survive being shot 14 times with a high-powered Chinese military weapon,
God.
Severed 2 arteries, and then lying on the ground for 3 hours before they got me out.
Tell me the story. What was the lead up to it? Because you were, what, Star Force?
Star Force. Star Force is Special Task and Rescue. I was a sniper. I was a diver for the police. But I was also trained by the military elite SAS in counter-terrorist tactics.
You two would have a lot in common.
We can certainly sit down for a beer afterwards.
I look forward to that.
Yes.
And maybe we'll have another discussion another day, a round table here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in Star Force. There was, the long story really, really short, a guy in the Barossa Valley was up for 197 counts of fraud. He failed to turn up in court. The court issued a warrant to arrest him to make sure he turned up in court. He had a history of threatening violence but never acted on it, never did anything of violence but had threatened it. In a previous action that I was involved in with the same person, he had said, any cop who shows up at my door will get shot. So there was a small hint that he had potential to be violent. But again, he'd never done anything.
But in saying that, I can't imagine you being allowed to make such a threat and not have...
consequences.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as soon as he made that threat, we did turn up on his doorstep. We took all of his weapons away from him. We took his firearms license away from him.
That would make him mad.
It didn't please him. Didn't please him at all. The irony there is that he went to court to appeal the taking of his firearms, not to dispute the court process for being a inappropriate person to hold a firearms license or have weapons. But he said, police will not look after my weapons. And he had some very nice weapons, and fully admit that. Police can't give them back to me, but they won't look after them very well. They get rusty. But you can give them back to my wife because she still has a firearms license. And the court has gone, oh, that sounds like a good idea. And they did. So we had another job with him to take the firearms back again, but we only got a portion of the firearms back at that time. He had secreted weapons somewhere, and they've never been found. And to this day, they are still outstanding.
How many guns did he have?
He had around about 20, and we got about half of them. Half of them are still out there. My apologies. There was one that was found rolled up in an old carpet, but it had been covered in gun oil and everything else to be completely preserved. So we presume, and this is complete presumption, that the others are similarly secreted around South Australia.
What happened to him?
He stayed in the house for 41 hours. I was on the ground for 3 hours. And he stayed in the house for 41 hours. He had minor injuries. We got him out. It took 2.5 years to get him to court the first time. Yeah, our court.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to have to say something a little controversial, and that is that, I've known many police people, friends of the family, Ray Kilmire, for instance.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, great guy. But I will tell you one thing that I get so jacked off about when I hear stories like this. The police do their job. They do what is intended. They give us law and order. And yet it's the legal system that then drops the ball. And
Absolutely.
it's like, how could you have a 2-year gap in this? I mean, this is just...
Well, the story gets worse.
Oh, God.
You are going
Keep on.
to get really fired up.
Oh, yeah.
So we got a conviction, 22 years jail.
Yeah.
He appealed against that, and he appealed because at the end of the deliberations by prosecution and defence, they had a day in court with just the judge, prosecutor and defence counsel, and they agreed on what the judge was going to sum up, how the judge was going to sum up. And that was not going to be controversial at all. And they came into court the next day, open court, and when they did come in, the judge gave a completely different summing up. He sent the jury out to deliberate. Both prosecution and defence stood up and said, you are not able to give that direction to the jury. It has to be rescinded. Called the jury back in, sent them back out again. We won the court case, but we lost the summing up by the judge. And he won the right to appeal, and it went back to court another 2.5 years later. And this time it went into court.
Was he out all that time?
No, he was remanded in custody that entire time. But it took another 2.5 years to get into court at that time. This time he wasn't able to secure counsel through lots of legal wangling that he did. And so in the second trial, I was in the witness box for a full week being questioned by the guy who had shot me. He was his own legal counsel.
Oh, God.
A court-imposed power over me that I had to answer his questions. And, you know.
How did you feel?
Well, I'm very fortunate because I know the legal system. I knew this was always going to be a possibility, and it was in my case. It was exhausting because what I said at 8:30 on Monday morning was tested at the end of the week. And remember, you said this. Now, I want to just test exactly what you were saying there. Yeah. And I had to be able to recall it perfectly. Fortunately, it was all straight and honest, so it was easy to do. But it was absolutely exhausting. Now, for me, I expected it, and I was able to manage it. It didn't give me any PTSD or stress or anxiety. It was hard, no two ways about it. The people I feel sorrier for are people who are victims of sexual assault or something very personal to them, where the offender is then put in charge of questioning those. Yeah. And it makes perfect sense that they go, no, I don't want to go through that again. I've already been personally offended by this person. I'm not going to submit to that again.
Derek, I don't know if you know Mike O'Reilly.
No, I do not.
Derek, I used to be police reporter at The Advertiser back in the 70s. Okay. And I ended up working for Dean Brown in opposition in 1992, 93. Yeah. The election came up in December. 94, I was in the Victoria Square office of the Premiers.
Right. And
I was the last person to leave on a particular night, and I was communications director. And the phone call came through to me, so I picked it up, and it was Grosser.
Yep.
And I... With my background of just the knowledge of crime and whatever, I already knew he was unhinged. I could tell he was making threats. He was talking about police were doing this. He was being tracked. He was a maniac.
Just a little bit of substance to what you're saying there. He had a history of, and in the day it was writing letters. Emails weren't a thing back then. But he would write letters to politicians around Australia and every news outlet around Australia. And if people didn't answer him, he didn't follow up. Anybody who said, oh, that's interesting, bang, they got dozens of letters. And he was always alleging some sort of conspiracy.
Well, I just knew I was dealing with someone who was quite unhinged. I was the only person in the Premier's office up there in Victoria Square, probably 5 or 6 o'clock at 7 o'clock at night. Yeah. And in those days, you didn't have a mobile phone alongside you.
Yeah. But then he could get through on the phone.
Well, it just came through to a general number, but I was the person that went, oh, well, I better take that because nobody else is here. I could tell he was completely unhinged, and I'm taking notes, and I'm going, how am I going to notify the police that I've got this person ringing in to the Premier's office, so he is a threat. He is a threat. And so all I could do, one stage, I think I made up a story that I had to nip out and do something, and that was where I was going to go and grab another phone, but he rang out. But and then when I heard what he did with you guys and the siege, it just all. I did ring the police and tell them about this guy, and they said, "Yeah, we knew about him and whatever." But and I was just sitting outside, and I heard you talking about it, and I went, "My God!" And one thing I'm going to talk to you about today, Jeremy, is the closing down of victims of crime, victim support services, and that was an organisation set up by former Queensland Police Commissioner. And also Bob Whitington, the police reporter at the Advertiser.
Yes, I know that name. Yes.
So I became a founder member along with them, and many, many years ago, 50 years ago, I guess. But and they're about to wind it up.
Really?
But,
What's the reason?
Oh, there's many other government agencies now doing what they used to do, but I'd argue that the volunteers that we had, as I was a volunteer as well, but they were people who had really been through as victims of crime, and they would then go with victims of crime to court and sit alongside them and help them and holding a hand. So,
a good friend of mine, Michael O'Connell, was the commissioner for victims of crime here in South Australia, and he's a world-renowned authority on it, and he was advocating for them on things that the government had not even considered. We need someone to look after the victims of crime, because what I was going to go to before was that our system looks after the offenders to make sure the offenders are not found guilty wrongly, but in doing that, the victims, the ones who are really suffering, are the ones who suffer even more through the court process. Just the same as I was re-victimised by having to be questioned by the guy who'd shot me 14 times.
I have to ask something. I mean, how can anyone actually interrogate someone who has been shot by someone obviously so unhinged? I mean, this is something that I find incredible, but it's not the only story of legal misdeeds that I've heard in South Australia. Take South Australia as an example, but I think that this just goes beyond the pale. So when you're sitting there, you've been shot by this guy, and then this guy turns around and says, I have the right to interrogate you as to whatever weird motive he may or may not have had at the time.
Made all sorts of weird and wonderful allegations.
But what sort of... what could he question you about? He didn't deny that he did it.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He denied that he did it. And he still does not admit to the fact that he did it.
I just noticed this guy's out of jail, though, in 2017.
2016 he was released from...
And with 2 years electronic monitoring.
Yeah,
he's on the streets.
Turned out to be 3 years of electronic monitoring and monitoring for 5 years. They actually enacted new legislation, and whether it was deliberately or coincidentally, it was enacted at the time he was released, because he was going to be released without any monitoring at all. Now, if he was released on parole early, they would be able to monitor him, track him, have him report in. Having served out his full sentence, they didn't have any of that power. So the new High Risk Offenders Act was enacted, and he was the first person it was used for, and that gave them parole-type conditions of monitoring, reporting, medication and all that sort of stuff.
Medication. You made mention of medication. So was the determination by the court that he was nuts?
I can't say that, because those words was definitely not used, but it was certainly seen that he was a threat to, a potential threat, I should say, to society upon his release.
What did he get? What sentence did he get?
He got 22 years jail, and he had 18 years non-parole. He appealed 3 times for parole and was rejected out of hand every time. Now, going back to where I was before, it goes further. So the trial, the second trial, went for about 3 months, one of the longest trials in the state at that time. We won that one, 22 years jail, conviction. He appealed, went all the way to the High Court, took 10.5 years, and from what I understand, about $10.5 million of our money.
Oh, yeah, the taxpayers' money.
Yes.
So we had to fund his case.
Correct. But this is looking after the offenders to make sure we do not get... And I understand the fact that we don't want to get anybody convicted who is not guilty. Everybody supports that.
Did he deny
but
that
the victims need to be looked after.
But did he deny that he'd shot you?
Yes, he did. He said he shot near me, but he didn't hit me.
How did he explain the bullet holes?
He said a couple of allegations he made. One was that his wife was in the house and she might have opened up another door and shot me through that door, and that's how I got shot. The other allegation he made was that he shot near me and then my mates from Star Group put me up against a wall and shot me 5 times with a shotgun. Now, the irony,
as you do.
The irony here is that they are ridiculous, fantastic ideas, but if it puts a seed of doubt in the jury's mind, they will find him not guilty.
How could the jury, drawn from common sense individuals in our community,
to the microphone, John.
Oh, sorry. How can the jury, drawn by common sense people in the South Australian community, be drawn to a conclusion that there might be an element of doubt in this? I can say it because I'm not invested in the crazy dude's story. I'm outraged.
I don't make any bones about the fact that I do not like this person either. I don't believe he's a smart person, but he's clever. All right. Now, what he does, he was taking something that had an ounce of truth behind it. He said this is true. Police agreed that that's true. And then he blew up a story around that, which was all fantasized. Now, because the jury knows that the police agree with this part, he agrees with this part. Now, whose story is believable? If the jury have any idea, they go, oh, I'm not really sure, not guilty.
I'm amazed he achieved such a, arguably good result for himself when he's not a lawyer. Self-representation.
He's actually, as I say,
that's
a clever
very
man.
Clever of him
he
to
actually
do that.
became what's known as a Mackenzie's friend to other criminals. And a Mackenzie's friend is someone who has an idea of the court process and legal system, and he is able to go to court with them, not being a barrister or trained, but represent them. It's a Mackenzie's friend.
He was kind of being a victim of crime.
Absolutely.
Helping others.
Absolutely.
And like I said, in June, there's a meeting going to be held of Victim Support Services.
Isn't there a fund, a Victims of Crime fund, and
Correct.
people find it rather hard to get money out of it?
They do indeed.
Yes.
Yeah. And this organisation actually still has a lot of funds, and if there is a winding up, which it looks like will happen, then those funds will go to other organisations, worthy organisations. But it's still to be determined. But yeah, Victims of Crime Services, which became Victim Support Services, and then essentially taken over by a government department, has just been let die on the vine.
Mike O'Reilly is here, John's still here, Tony's here, Gary's here, and Derek's here. Did the police look after you? I mean,
That's another controversy. When it first happened, yes, they looked after me. They made sure that I had people around me to support me. One of the things that I did was ask for a psychiatrist or psychologist, and I did that within 5 days of being shot, and it took them 30 days to get someone to me with a psychological background. Now, put everything on the table. I had a welfare officer with me who was psychologically trained, and he was a legend, but it wasn't a psychologist who was actually going to talk to me. Trevor Haskell was the welfare officer, and he was there just to make sure that we were looked after, the family and me, and I had things, but it took them 30 days. An irony to that is in 1987, I was involved in an incident where somebody tried to shoot my partner and I when we were on general patrol.
so you went back to work?
1987 was before the Barossa shooting.
Yeah.
So 1987, I was involved in where somebody had tried to shoot my partner and I.
Yes.
That happened at close to midnight. And at 3 a.m. in the morning, they had a psychologist with us. We didn't request it. They just brought the psychologist in. He sat down, had a chat with us. Now that I've been shot in 1994, 7 years later,
Whoops.
it took them 30 days, a month, to get someone to me. So that portion was very badly managed. We then went back to norm, for want of a better term, and I was looked after. People made sure I had all the medical help that I needed. I was taken out to lunch.
You get a Purple Heart or anything?
No, I didn't get a Purple Heart, but they were very nice to me. But then, as you know, I do a lot of professional speaking and running masterclasses on mind mastery, human durability, sustained optimal performance, and just leadership principles. And I do that around the world. But when I first started doing that, or when I was first approached by corporates, I've gone, no, I don't want to do that, because I didn't want to tell a hero story and get paid for it, because I wasn't the hero on the day. The heroes were the guys who risked their lives to get me, the doctor, the nurse that stood in direct line of fire to treat me for 10 minutes with bullets whizzing around their ears. And I've gone, you want to pay money for that? Pay them. I used a stack of blood, though. Body only holds 10 units of blood. I used 24 units of blood in 7 hours.
Well, you were leaking. I mean, you had
I had a couple of leaks. Yeah, I did. But the blood service came to me and said, would you like to say thank you to blood donors? Tell your story, let them know how much of a difference it made. I've gone, yeah, absolutely, I can do that. And when I said to the police department, blood service would like me to say thank you to blood donors, they've gone, excellent, that is wonderful. And so I went and did that. Then Rotary and Lions came and approached me and volunteered to do that, had to get permission from the police to do that. Excellent, Derek, that's wonderful, aren't you great? But then I found out there were deeper messages. It wasn't just the story, it was the messages behind that people were saying, oh my gosh, you've changed my life. That's made me look at things in a different perspective completely, which has led to what I do now. But as soon as I got approached by a corporate and they said, we'd like to pay you $400 to come and speak to our organisation, the police department put up every barrier they could possibly find.
So you were still in the force?
I was still in the force, yes. Put up every barrier to stop me doing that.
What?
I don't know. I have no idea why. I've never been given a valid reason. They've had lots of different things.
Did it stop you though?
No. I had to fight, and it took me 11 months to fight that before I was able to get permission. At one stage they said, oh, listen, don't speak outside. We'd like you to just speak inside the police department, and we'll make it happen for you as much as you want. And then I've gone, well, I still want the $400 because that's going to be good for my family. And they've gone, let us think about it. Then they came back and said, actually, even though we said we're going to give it to you as much as you want, 2 weeks later they said, we think it's bad for your psychological long-term and short-term.
Can they force you not to do it?
Because it's secondary employment, I have to get permission from them for the secondary employment. They have to be able to approve it, make sure I'm not abusing my powers or compromising whatever. But they were trying to stop me on a psychological basis. And they threw up all sorts of barriers. They demanded reports from the police psych branch. Then the psychiatrist that I saw outside the police department, they demanded a report from them. Everything was positive. Everything was... And at 1 month after the shooting, the psychiatrist that I saw said that I had no PTSD, no clinical anxiety or anything else, even though I'd had nightmares, I'd had panic attacks, all those sorts of things, but they didn't stay with me. And what I didn't suffer PTSD. What I suffered, or what I experienced, was post-traumatic growth. But the police department couldn't get their head around this would be good for our people to know. Victoria's had me in, New South Wales has had me in, federal police have flown me up to Queensland to speak to one of their retreats, but SAPOL itself won't embrace me. I've spoken to lots of South Australia police, but it's been personal approaches, not organisational.
Yeah. I have a question. So, Derek, what happened between 1987, when you and your partner were threatened and you had the psychologist, and then, 7 years later when you were actually shot? What happened institutionally within SAPOL? Because that sounds like, 1987, things were working. Whether you needed it or not, the psychologist came with a turf.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it didn't 7 years later. What?
I can't explain that.
Not even from a bureaucratic perspective?
there was a lot of bureaucracy in it. The psychologist that they wanted to talk to me, he was away on holiday. And, full disclosure, I wasn't desperate to speak to the psychologist. I was actually just looking to pick the psychologist's brain. I've just been shot, massive traumas. I know some people deal with it well, some people deal with it badly. what's the potential for me? What's possibly going to happen? And if it does happen, what are the signs? What are the symptoms? And how do I manage it? So I just wanted to pick their brain. But because my mind was always thinking that way, that's part of the reason that I survived for 3 hours, even though doctors don't know how I survived. 2 severed arteries.
But you would have bled out.
3 hours. Supposed to, absolutely.
Were you wearing a vest?
I was wearing a vest, but the bulletproof vest, and I say this in inverted commas, it's not bulletproof. No. We literally call them...
Made in China.
I'm not going
We're
there.
still made in Russia.
But we call them flak vests because...
flak jacket,
Yep, a flak jacket. Now, it stops a certain type of bullet, but not every bullet, so it's not bulletproof. I also had a ceramic plate on my chest. That ceramic plate could stop this type of weapon, but the vest itself, bullets went through it like a hot knife through butter. Yeah.
When you were lying there, 3 hours?
3 hours, correct.
3 hours. What did you think about?
The first one was just...
Were you conscious the whole time?
I was fully conscious until the last 15 minutes where I was passing in and out of consciousness because I just didn't have enough blood left. But initially what I was thinking about was, where's he? What's he doing? Is he going to come and hunt me again? So I yelled out when I was first hit, and you can see this on YouTube, Nurayupta shooting, Derek McManus. You'll see that you can see I was approaching the house, you hear the shooting, and then you'll hear me call out, I'm hit, so that my mates knew that I was hit. Yeah. I've then gone round the corner, managed to get to my feet despite massive injuries. I've gone round the corner and leant against a wall and called out to my mates again, I'm hit, I'm hurt, I need help. And then I've gone round the next corner and lost all my strength and power, collapsed to the ground. And while I was there, I felt extremely vulnerable. I wasn't able to get up. I wasn't able to do anything. Yeah. So I called out, I'm hit, I'm hurt, but I can still shoot. Now, whether he heard that or not, I don't know. But it made me feel better that I was trying to let him know if he comes out, there's a threat to him as well. And I know that he's not a brave person. And whether that intimidated him or not, I don't know. But that was my first thought, protect myself. Then it was manage my physiology as well as my mind, right? So 4 things that I say that I needed to do. First was control panic, not let panic take control of the situation and my actions. I had to control shock so that my body doesn't close down and I don't bleed too fast. I had to slow down my heart rate and I had to slow down my breathing.
Incredible presence of mind.
And this is why I now talk worldwide about this, because this is not applicable just for an extreme situation here. It's any situation we face. I talk to kids in schools. I talk to military elite, fighter pilots. I'm engaged to speak to the SAS in the near future. I talk to CEOs. I talk to hairdressers. It is universally applicable that we are able to actually deliberately take actions that are not difficult. They are simple. The biggest challenge we have is, I doubt myself. I know I think I should do this, but I'm not going to do this unless Jeremy tells me this is the right thing to do, because Jeremy knows. Or what about Mike, or whatever it might be. We doubt ourselves. What I do is give people the confidence that their system works for them. It's got them to where they are now. That system will also get them to the next stage of whatever they want to do, handle the next challenge. From there, yes, we need to engage with other people and do the right thing, but we have the ability to take action, and there's a whole framework that I use that people are able to plan long-term, have some idea of the challenges that they're going to face, some idea of the emotion that it's going to have on them, then have an idea of the resources to manage those emotions so that they can manage the challenges better.
What does it feel like to
be shot?
Because after all,
I can give you my interpretation of what it feels like, but everybody that I've spoken to that's been shot has a very different experience. So for me, when I smile, and because I know the story I'm about to tell you, I smile wryly. For me, as I approached the side of that house, I was looking at a glass sliding door that I was going to make an assessment of. And all I knew was I was suddenly falling to the ground. Had absolutely no idea why. Hadn't felt any pain, hadn't felt any impact, and initially hadn't even heard the sound of gunfire. But as I'm falling to the ground, small round holes in that door suddenly appeared, and I've gone, where have they come from? Then I heard the sound of gunfire, still hadn't felt any pain or impact, And I've had to rationalise to myself, small round holes, sound of gunfire, me stupidly falling for no reason, I must be getting shot. And so the thought that I had before I hit the ground was literally, Derek, don't be too hard on yourself, because if you're getting shot, it's quite acceptable to fall over. I then fell to the ground, and I still didn't feel pain, but I felt 2 bullets hit my left thigh.
I've heard of control and strength of character and mind, but that's an amazing story.
Yeah, thank you. And I believe that this is what anybody can do for their challenges. Let me put that into context for you. I made a choice to go into Star Group. I made a choice that I knew I was going to be in situations where I may be shot and injured, I may be shot and killed. 5 years prior to the shooting, and I believe this is also part of the reason I didn't suffer PTSD. I believe I did my psych therapy 5 years prior to it actually happening. So 5 years prior, I sat down with my wife and I said, I'm going into Star Group. There's a potential of me being shot and injured. I may be shot and killed. The conversation I had with her was, if I die, what will be the impact on you? What will your life look like afterwards? So I wanted to make sure that she knew she had my support for whatever she chose. If she wanted to get on and get married, sensational, I support it. If she wanted to stay single and look after our children by herself, sensational, I support it. Whatever it is. I also did throw her the third option of just build a little shrine in the corner for me and worship me every day, but apparently that one wasn't popular. But I then said, if I don't die, I need you to know right now, anything better than death is a bonus. Even if I spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair, so long as I'm able to interact with my kids, I will be happy. So this was me taking responsibility on what I call 4 levels.
Yeah,
my
indeed.
Choice, my actions, potential consequences both good and bad. I'm making this action, I'm going into Star Group, I am going to enjoy life. This is going to be exciting. But I may be shot and injured, I may be shot and killed. I then said, if I do get shot, I may spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair and I will make the best of it. So I was taking responsibility not just for the consequence, but what the future might be afterwards. And she was on the same page as me, and that was a really important thing. The rest of what I did back 5 years prior to the shooting was I then said exactly that framework that I said before. If I do get shot, what's that going to feel like for my body? What's it going to feel like in my mind? How am I going to be able to respond to it? What have I done in the past, reflecting on that incident where I was almost shot? How did I manage to stay controlled in that incident? And what can I learn from those and bring them forward? So what can I anticipate? What's going to happen in my mind as well as my body? This is why I talk about mind mastery, because mindset is one thing, but when things start going south like that, mindset's got very little to do with it. Yeah. You've got to mind manage. And that's what I was doing while I was on the ground.
Strikes me that there was no panic involved. You were very considered.
There was certainly a couple of moments of panic. The emotions go high, the rational thinking goes low, and that was oh my God, I've been shot. What do I do now? There's also another moment later on when I collapsed to the ground, and I feel absolutely useless because I now can't get up and move. I've got no way of influencing my safety, so I call out, I'm hit, I'm hurt, I can still shoot. But in that moment, I'm also going, in my mind, completely irrational thoughts. All I want to do is turn time back, and if I can turn time back, I'll do something different, and blah, blah, blah. So my thought process at that stage also went to, I remember as a kid, I used to watch Superman on TV, and Superman wanted to turn time back, and he'd just fly into the air, turn the world backwards. I literally thought, how do I get Superman to do that for me? So that's moments of panic.
And the other thing was he had